Is someone gonna call Cutter? Should I just stand here with my tits out all day? I'm Doug Jones. I am an actor. For 31 years, I have been acting in major motion pictures and TV series.
You might know me from the Hellboy movies or the Fantastic Four sequel, in which I was the Silver Surfer.
Pan's Labyrinth.
And most recently, The Shape of Water.
But you may not recognize my face, because in all of those movies, I was wearing a mask of some sort.
But I was in them. Trust me.
It's a documentary crew, they're cameras.
It's like they're not even here.
They're filming me?
Yes.
Pretend like they're not there. It's kind of a natural piece.
I never set out to do monster work ever. When I was in college at Ball State University, I met a mime artist named Reed Steele. He was head of the mime troupe, Mime Over Matter. I auditioned for the troupe and was accepted into it my freshman year. That is an art form that woke up the rest of me. That's when I realized that communication is from the top of this to the bottom of this. When I got to Hollywoodland in 1985 and wanting to be an actor, I thought I was going to take it by storm as a secondary player on a sitcom.
You, me, over there now.
Go away, old man. We don't have over-the-top characters, just boring conversation.
You got that right.
My method of choosing roles was, does it pay? So I did a lot of turkeys. I mean, I did. A lot of the mime and contortionist background got me into auditions that were costume heavy. So the mime background was really crucial, and I had no idea what it was preparing me for. TV commercials is how you get discovered.
Wow, we're getting a workout today.
They'll take a chance on an unknown face sooner than a TV show or a movie will. My fourth job was the Mac Tonight campaign for McDonald's.
It's a good time for a great tasting.
Wildly popular commercial campaign. We did 27 commercials within a 3-year period, bought my first house, and I was hooked on the acting thing.
Come on, make it Mac Tonight.
That's where I gained my reputation as the guy who wears a lot of stuff, moves well in it, and doesn't complain, which is key. My first big studio film was Batman Returns.
We want the guy who runs the show.
What do you want?
Not you.
I got to play the thin clown in that, which is kind of the story of my life. I spoke once, I had one line.
Great speech, Oswald.
The show after that was Hocus Pocus.
On thy feet, so saith I.
You think zombies, you think like, oh, I want to eat your brains. Billy was like, hey, I got you a flower.
This was my first big role on screen. It was literally the first time I had been made up beyond recognition.
I really appreciate the old school way of filmmaking, like the moths coming out of my mouth. Which now would be a CG effect added in post-production. But back then, 1992, we really did it.
Cut. Yeah!
In 1997, the movie Mimic was being made.
Sometimes an insect will evolve to mimic its predator. These things can imitate us, they can infiltrate us, and breed a legion before anyone would even notice.
I got one of those referral phone calls from a Creature Effects makeup house saying, Doug, we're doing reshoots for this. Are you free tonight to come down and do a night shoot?
Cut to that night, I'm on the top of a 3-story brick building in a bug face thing with a trench coat that was made out of wings. So it was a man-looking insect, hence the name Mimic.
They ended up liking me, and they had more reshoots to do, so they kept me on for 2 more days. On my second day is when I met the director of the film, Guillermo del Toro. He sat across the lunch table from me and wanted to know every monster I'd ever played, every makeup artist I'd ever worked with, because he's fascinated by horror films and all things creepy crawly. At that point in my career, that was 1997, I'd already worked with some of the greatest makeup artists in history, like Stan Winston and Rick Baker and Tony Gardner and Mike Elizalde. The list goes on, and he knew every makeup artist I'd ever worked with. So I was like, oh, well, then he's one of my peeps. You know, that's how we had this bond. Within a day, he knew what my capabilities were, what my limitations were, what buttons to push to motivate me, and he does that with every actor he works with.
Doug is a great actor. He has the signature Doug Jones moves, you know? But those signature Doug Jones moves are varied. Let's say that he has an alphabet of moves. I would say he creates poetry with that alphabet.
Five years later, I go off and do more movies, and in 2002, I got another phone call from the Creature Effects shop called Spectral Motion. They had finished the sculpture of Abe Sapien for Hellboy 1. That's when this started in the room. Well, you know who the perfect person to play this is? Doug Jones. So I became Abe Sapien for Hellboy 1.
Doug was perfect. Tall and lean and slender. More than slender, he was actually just skinny, which is great when you're building muscles onto something.
Behind this door, a dark entity. Evil, ancient, and hungry.
Abe Sapien's voice is completely redone. A lot of people don't really realize how much that happens.
Story of my life.
Hellboy 1, I was voiced over in post-production by David Hyde Pierce, and that was something that had been discussed by the studio before I was even cast, because they were thinking they were going to have a hard time getting an A-lister to wear such a contraption. You know, Ron Perlman in his Hellboy makeup, he looks a lot like Ron Perlman. As Abe Sapien, you look like that fish guy, and that's it. So it's harder to attract big names to a role like that. That was a little bit difficult to swallow for me. Unfortunately, they were studio decisions to help sell a project.
Hey, fish stick. Don't touch anything.
I need to touch it to see.
See what?
Past, future, whatever this object holds.
Hellboy was the movie that really cemented my relationship with Guillermo del Toro. It was the movie where we really learned a director-actor relationship and a director-actor language and a shorthand with each other that then carried us on into the phone call that I got for Pan's Labyrinth, which was, no one can play the fawn character Pan but you, Doug.
I said, well, you have to do it in Spanish.
Oh, crap. I don't speak Spanish.
And so he learned all the lines phonetically to play the fawn.
¡Sois vos! ¡Habéis regresado! No os asustéis, os lo ruego.
Mi nombre es Ofelia. ¿Quién eres tú?
Soy un fauno. Vuestro más humilde súbdito, Alteza.
Pan's Labyrinth is an incredibly magical ride for me from start to finish, from the preparation all the way to the follow-through at the end. The fawn character was extremely complicated. Mechanics built into the head, some parts that were masked and mechanized, other parts that were glued on to me from about here down was all glued on to me. Then there was costume pieces that built the rest of the body. Some pieces were glued on, some buckled, velcroed, zippered. Every type of fastener you can imagine was on this character in multiple pieces from head to toe. When you're wearing a mask with all your vision cut down to 2 little tear ducts, the peripheral vision to help me with my balance, and being up on stilts, making me 7 feet tall with a very heavy head. I was top heavy. That was the challenge. So I needed to get comfortable walking around on my tiptoes and to find his physicality. Was dubbed over by a voiceover artist in Spain, and as it should have been. He could hear nuances that I couldn't hear in the language. He knew the melody of how a sentence should go that maybe I didn't know.
Haréis todo lo que yo os diga, sin cuestionarlo. Es vuestra última oportunidad.
All my leg movement did puppeteer the prosthetic piece that was attached to me. And all they had to do was wipe away the green part of my shins, which was a great, beautiful use of CG and practical effects together.
Here? So she's gonna come that close to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And with Dog, I can have the precision that is required to take over in digital, and it looks beautiful.
As creature suits and makeups go, this character of Fauno is the most comfortable and least irritating thing I've ever had on. It's a very, very good design.
Oh, thank you.
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
Guillermo told me that he wanted me to play the Pale Man in addition to, Pan. And I thought at first, like, oh yeah, you cheap ass, you want another character for free, right? While I'm in Spain, why not just use me? But every decision Guillermo makes is very calculated and with a very good reason. The Pale Man was really an extension of the Fawn, so having the same actor play both parts was kind of a genius move. I don't normally get creeped out watching my own work, but the Pale Man made me go, ha. Not since the Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi days back in the black and white era when monsters could be movie stars. Guillermo is the one who brought back the sympathetic monster, the one that actually has storyline and interaction and emotion and a purpose to the story. It was very sweet to see this kind of turn happen where I went from being considered as a monster suit actor guy to they were actually giving me movie star status. Then another movie came along called Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. And one of the makeup shops, Spectral Motion again, that had done my Abe Sapien design, they were designing the Silver Surfer. They suggested to the studio, you've got to get Doug Jones for this. He's the perfect size, shape, abilities, movement.
You've been busy, my friend. Your talents are impressive. Can you understand what I'm saying?
I loved the Silver Surfer character so much. I love researching him and respecting him. The Silver Surfer is everything that I'm not. He's statuesque, and he's poetic and philosophical and very sacrificial. I've been voiced over 3 times in my career. The first Hellboy movie was the first time I experienced that. Now, Pan's Labyrinth was different because it's a movie in Spanish, but by the time the Silver Surfer came along, it hurt because I was a little bit more known by then, and they still didn't buy it.
Why are you destroying our planet?
I have no choice.
Love Lawrence Fishburne, he's a wonderful actor, but I don't think any actor wants to see part of their performance disappear and be replaced. I've been trained as an actor. I've been working now for 30 years. Back then it was I've been working for almost 20 years and didn't feel like they needed to look any further to voice this character as well. So that's a studio thing where they're thinking ticket sales, name recognition, and what can we do to promote the film better. But when Guillermo del Toro called me, he said, if we get the chance to do a Hellboy 2, I'll use your voice then. Which he did. He lived up to that promise.
Oh my God. Liz, you're pregnant.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I always thought the second movie should rightfully belong to Abe as much as it belongs to Hellboy and Liz.
I have been able to play a range of characters that I never would have been able to play with this face. Leave it to Guillermo del Toro to write a Fishman mutant role that is a romantic leading male.
You look different.
Oh, do I? Perhaps my hair?
No, it's your eyes. I can see your eyes.
Yes. Just trying a new look.
I also played 3 characters in that film. I was Abe Sapien, the Blue Fish Guy, and the Angel of Death, and I was also the Chamberlain.
You must surrender your weapon.
Between those 3 characters, I never had a day off.
Give me some more.
I think the best guys to perform in a suit in my mind are Brian Steele and Doug Jones. I play to their advantages. Doug is the rarest breed of actor and performer, but I would never have him play an action monster because he doesn't understand that language that well. He's great at slow-moving, elegant, vaguely menacing. Brian is physical. Brian is brutal. He's great at fights. He charges. He doesn't move. He charges. If you cast them correctly, you cannot just say, oh, they're good suit performers. I don't see Doug being able to do Mr. Wink, for example. And it's not a limitation, it's a specialization.
Wink
Frank has 3 different heads. I've got a stunt version, I've got a half stunt version, I've got a full-on, like, wow head that is used to convey all the emotion because it's got brows. He's got, obviously, got this huge mechanical hand. He's got an animatronic head that I look out of the mouth of. I'm on 9-inch leg lifts, and the suit itself weighs about 130 pounds.
That's huge. If you've ever had to carry a bag that weighs 100 pounds, it's not an easy thing to do. He's a very unique individual. He's very durable, never complains.
If Brian Steele doesn't complain, I don't complain. I watched him wear more weight and make things happen magically on film in these characters that he played. None of us have anything to complain about if Brian Steele's around.
I know that I have the mental strength, because of the physical training that I've done, that I can get through the rest of the day and through the rest of the shoot.
Beautiful. Now rest, I'm going to put you on film.
Most of the time, it makes performers like Derek Mears, Doug Jones, and myself look like heroes. Because this is what we do. We know what we're getting into.
I just hired them for the run of the show, and they have to play more characters than one. You know, they are screwed.
The farther you get from human, the more difficult it's going to be to wear.
I'll save him.
The time will come, and you, my dear, will suffer more than anyone.
I don't know whoever said that being an angel of death was easy.
I always know that Doug is very pliable and resistant to torture. He never complains, although he bleeds and cries. So those are the silent signals. If Doug is bleeding from a huge gear on his back, you gotta stop. And when he played the Angel of Death, the rig in his back was so brutal that I think we did draw blood, and we said, let's stop it, let's wire it.
When you're sitting through 5 hours of makeup to become a character, and you're seeing it being built on you, and your physical form is changing before your very eyes, it helps you give you a visual understanding of who he, or she in this case with the Angel of Death, is. You need to make it through a 12 to 18-hour day sometimes with a lot of stuff on you and be as fresh at the end of the day as you were at the beginning of the day. That's the hard part. And that's the athlete's mentality that pushes you through to the finish line. Like, I will finish, I will have that big kick at the end of the race. For me, taking on a character, whether it's a human being in a t-shirt that's delivering witty dialogue, or whether it is a 4-legged monster, all those characters deserve an actor's touch to develop a heart and soul, an intention, fears, wants, desires.
T'es prêt à quoi pour jouer comme Django Reinhardt? Django, il jouerait 2 doigts. Le reste, il n'en a pas besoin. Le reste, il peut le sacrifier. Regarde, avec juste 2 doigts.
I do lots of characters that are extreme, either visually or emotionally, so trusting that the director is creating a playground that is safe to play in, then that gives me more freedom to experiment with this character all the way to the limits of the playground.
The Ice Cream Man, the great Doug Jones, the most elastic man on the planet. He's just incredible, who's been mostly unrecognizable in movies of late because he's usually covered in some kind of prosthetics.
My favorite part about this was the fact that our director, Scott Stewart, came looking for me to have a showcase cameo moment for Doug Jones, bless his heart, with my own face. But in this one, it's like, oh, that's me, but then my jaw goes, Eek-ah!
Oh, man, he don't look that bad. Oh, shit.
People often ask, like, how do you prepare for these crazy roles that you play? Because I'm often in some kind of a crazy costume or something. I go to my gym late at night, I'll use the dance floor with the mirrors, and I'll do whatever I have to do in front of those mirrors to kind of create this character. I knew that I had to get strong in a squatted leg, hands and feet position, and make it look like this is just organic for me. Speaking of organic, I'm getting all my minerals right now. There's a delineation between actor and monster guy. The studio system and the press often think that that is second class. Actors are really cool and they're movie stars. These guys, we're not sure what to do with them, so we'll call them suit performers.
Oh my God! He's gonna eat my face! He's getting goo in my mouth!
Tell me about a highlight
like working with Ben, Vince, Jonah. I mean, 3 incredibly funny actors.
Gosh, I just loved all of them. I had Jonah Hill pinned down to the floor in one scene where our faces are coming together. They're setting up the shot, and he said, "Do you just like hang out and stuff with Andy Serkis?"
Shut up! I didn't say anything. I wasn't talking to you.
And I said, "Jonah, no. I never met the man, but I'm sure he's delightful."
With the advent of CGI, the potential of what you can do now is limitless. For a while there, we were all scared. Uh-oh, our jobs are in jeopardy, we're never gonna work again. But thankfully, audiences want to connect with people. What's happening a lot more now is there's CG enhancements, and you'll see that in Crimson Peak.
The ghosts were played by 2 actors who spent about 6 hours getting into the prosthetic makeup every day, and it was great to have something to respond to.
All the ghosts are played by Javier Botet and myself. Javier Botet, of course, the very tall, very skinny fellow who played the Mama ghost in Mama. We also had another something in common. In the movie Quarantine, I played the thin, infected man, and he was the first one to play that role in the Spanish version of the movie that came first, called Rec. When you're wearing lots of crazy makeup on your face and body, you can become characters that you can't do with your own physicality. The range of characters I've been fortunate to play over the years is so broad and wide because of the wonderful Oscar-winning makeup artists who have done things to me. My goal is for the camera to roll and for you as an audience member to believe that I woke up that way that day and that this is an organic being in front of you, not a guy in a suit.
I asked Doug to join the movie because he is an actor. He's not a performer. And if you don't have an actor inside that suit, you don't have a movie. This creature is a presence. He needed to have a very strong ancient energy, and Doug got it.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Doug, who's playing him, is just incredibly three-dimensional. I mean, he brings real life to this creature. You know, you start to think there's real intelligence there.
I wanted to channel the animal from the wild. That included Guillermo del Toro giving me 2 bits of direction. He said, I want you to channel a little bit of the Silver Surfer, very stoic and heroic. And he said, and sprinkle a little bit of Matador in there, which leads with the pelvis. It's a sport that's very dance-like and very graceful. So he wanted to have that strength and that grace and that sexiness, and that was the challenge, to make this character lovable and sexy enough for this woman to fall in love with, and the audience had to buy it.
Doug is a beautiful soul. He's just an extraordinary human being. This incredible strength of him, mental and physical, and the way he's able to do what he does in that suit that is, for the majority of time, water-laden. His movement is so extraordinary. You do forget that it's a human being in there.
When you have visual effects and practical effects brought together, that's a great marriage of both mediums. It's perfect. I never want to leave the creature makeups and costume work behind. I want to keep that as a part of my career as long as I can. If I die under rubber on a Guillermo del Toro film set, that would be a happy way to go for me.